Austin.
Hi.
Hi.
Simona. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the Human Protocol podcast.
I am human.
You are human.
Yeah.
And we love that about you. So, point of the podcast, as we know, talk about the humans, the personal side of building big things, of moving this ecosystem forward, of doing all of the things, but we do not talk enough about the swings and roundabouts and trials and tribulations of the humans. So, to get us started, I want to know who you were before this chapter. Who were you? Fort Collins, Colorado. Who was Austin Griffith?
Yeah, it's still a builder, still an educator, still a nerd.
Yeah.
Very much more I need to have a good resume guy.
Okay.
You know that guy?
Okay.
More that guy.
All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to build things, but I didn't have the mature standpoint of building something that people use and becoming an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I was much more, I just saw myself as a smaller person, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was more about like, I am a cog in a machine. Which machine do I fit into? I was doing lots of things, like building lots of apps, and I loved building apps.
Okay.
And I looked like an entrepreneur, I think, from the outside, because I was always building things and always tinkering. And you mentioned beer brewing. I
Yes.
had built an entire brewery
Yes.
in my garage that
Right.
was automated.
Okay.
You would kind of weigh the grains and the hops, and
Yes.
you would pour them in, and it would make the label automatically. And there was like 5 different Linux machines all running all these solenoids, and it would automatically ignite a thing, and there would be fire. And I was working for a company, and I would like run it from the company while I was at work doing some things. I would like pull it up and like hit some buttons and make sure the brewery was doing what it needed to do, and then go back to my work. So I was a tinkerer and a
Yes.
builder for sure. And
Yes.
I've always like had this product mindset, this UX, UI.
Okay.
How do other humans use this thing, and let's make something that's magic for other people to use.
Okay. Okay.
I just missed the maturity of becoming a founder. And I think that's where I was at that point. I was just a tinkerer and a builder that wanted to have a good resume and get hired at a place.
Okay. So for you, the tinkering and the creating, you were looking at it as a thing on the side.
Yeah, it was like something I loved to do. And I still probably, even at my job, was building things that were interesting to me.
Okay.
It was like, what's the best thing that the company needs right now? Well, there's 4 developers, and we're about to have 20 developers. We need to figure out how to scale up, and we have like this AWS infrastructure.
Yep.
And we have a single machine for everything we deploy. We need to Dockerize. We need to have everybody have local containers that ship to production. And I built all those things to make that thing work. But it was more of like, I wasn't
quest?
thinking how I turned that into a product.
Okay.
I was just like, hey, boss, we should open source this cool thing.
Okay.
And he didn't let me. And I think that was one of the things that sort of weaponized me a little bit into crypto, too.
Interesting. So how long from that moment until the discovery of...
It was probably right about the same
Okay,
time.
okay.
I'm like, we've built this really cool piece of infrastructure. It's probably the summer of 2016.
Yes.
Docker is hot, and I'm doing infrastructure and code and teaching people within the company. And we had these things on Friday. Actually, where the Bow Tie Friday came from. I would show off something new every Friday at work with the other devs.
Yes.
And I put on a bow tie, and I showed off Ethereum for the first time. You guys should see this cool blockchain technology. And I think the CTO had already like bought some coins, and they were seeing it as this like financial thing.
Okay.
But I was seeing it as like, this is a smart contract platform, and
Yes.
you can run these little programs
Yes.
on a blockchain. And then the money came in as like a secondary thing.
Okay. So the interest for you was definitely the smart contract piece
Yes,
and like tinkering
yes.
and building
The
with
app
that.
side of that,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So then what made you decide to basically start doing the educational pieces, did you do anything before
Yes.
that? Right.
No education at first. So I love teaching,
Yes.
and I love educating people,
Yes.
and I love building things that people use.
Yes.
And I was in the Facebook era of like 2008 when the apps were hot, and I built a horse racing app that a bunch of people used, and I kind of lived off that for
There
a
are like
while.
thousands of people use that.
It was fun. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a fun game. And so I loved building games, and that's the first thing I did when I came to blockchain. I was
Right.
like, what can I do that is uniquely me that fits here on this blockchain? And I built this game called Gallias. It's still the
Yes.
ship game in the back of my
Yes.
Twitter. And the ships would have to sail. So it was kind of like an economic game where you could buy land, and there's these land tiles, and you can grow things on the land and trade. And you had these ships, and the ships would move in this very blockchain way where you would send a transaction to put up your sails, and each time a block is mined, the ship would move
advance.
along.
Yes.
And that was like, you had to build something that was uniquely blockchainy, and there was ownership of the tiles, and the tiles would generate new tokens. And I brought that to ETH Denver
Yes.
in 2018.
Yes.
And I had it on my phone, and you could play this mobile blockchain game with movement that was natively blockchain. And there were a couple of people there, like Moody, who ended up going to Uniswap and a couple other places, who saw Andrew, another buddy, maybe 3 or 4
Yes.
now friends
Yes.
that saw it, that were like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I love that. But like, I was still that guy that wanted to have that padded resume, that wanted a daddy to hire me.
Okay.
And I showed it to Daddy Lubin, of
Yes.
course, and he didn't give a shit. Like,
Okay.
generally, the daddies there had enough problems already. They didn't want a new person to come work for them.
Okay.
And so this was like the start of the sort of like failing to get into blockchain.
Okay.
for me.
Okay. When did that switch? Because I remember Gallias, and then also in my mind, the next thing is the burner wallet.
Yep. Yeah. I think where it really started to actually resonate with the ecosystem was with, I think, meta transactions and the burner wallet.
Yes.
Like when I shifted away from games. And by the way, if I would have just put that on Ethereum right then and focused on it and
Yeah.
founded a product that people would use,
Yeah.
it probably would have made money.
Okay.
But I didn't have that level of maturity.
Okay.
I was still like tinkering and trying things and dipping my toes in lots of places,
Wanting to get
hoping
into
someone would
companies.
almost accept me.
Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
So the advice right there is like, do the thing and get the users and quit
Forget
trying
about
to
the
find the daddy.
acceptance.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
So meta transactions, though, were
Yes.
something that much smarter people than me had figured out.
Yes.
Uport and
Yes.
Gnosis were figuring out these
Yes.
like, signed transactions.
Yes.
But they were doing a terrible job of explaining them to people and putting them in people's hands and letting them use it.
Yeah.
And I was able to sort of popularize them by making my own tool, which was called like Dapparatus and Clevis or something at the time. Basically what Hard Hat,
Yes.
what Truffle was not good, and I basically made my own Truffle, but Hard Hat professionalized this idea, and then Foundry the same thing. These
Yes.
orchestration libraries that let you deploy and test. And then the front end, which was Dapparatus. So I had Clevis, which was the deployment
Yep.
orchestration, and then I had Dapparatus, which was the website. So I built the tool stack. No one cared about that either.
Yep.
But then using those things to show off meta transactions is when I started getting, oh, this guy's building these cool things. Because I had like fully live demos with smart contracts
Yeah.
and front ends.
Yeah.
And you could connect your wallet and you could sign a message, and that message would go on chain with a relay that would pay the gas for you.
Yes.
And this was a magical experience for someone who had always had to pay gas for something.
And also at that time, the gas was ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Yes,
Ridiculous.
yes. Yeah. And well, it was a little bit before gas got super expensive. Like we thought maybe platforms could pay the gas for their users. In like 2018, ETH was at $100.
True.
Gas was a little bit cheaper.
Yes.
So there was a moment where it actually made sense to, and we built something called Nifty Inc., where it was like
Yes.
you would draw a thing.
I did that.
And you just like grabbed an iPad, you went to a website,
Yep.
you drew a thing, and you submitted it, and it went on chain, and you could start earning money.
Yes.
And so, and that used basically burner wallets, which
Yes.
would just be a wallet when you landed on the website.
Yep.
And then meta transactions, where we had a relay that would pay the gas for you. And the combination of those two things gave you an application that felt like a normal Web 2 application.
Yep.
But if you drew something cool, if you somehow created something that was interesting for people, you earned money. And money started showing up in this account that you basically didn't know you had. And then you started thinking, well, how do I protect this? And it kind of flipped crypto on its side, where it was about providing value first, and then as you earn
And
value,
thinking about how to protect it after.
you were like, oh, now when you would try to give someone a seed phrase up front,
Right.
they black out.
Yes.
If you give them money, and then the seed phrase is like they say, okay, I have this money, how do I protect it? And you
Right.
say it's this seed phrase, they pay way more attention to it once they have the
Post
money.
fact.
It's
Yes.
sort of like when people play board games and someone wants to read through all the rules before you start.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's just play the game and
And then
get
we'll
the
figure
rules.
it out.
Yeah.
And then if there's anything that we need to check, we'll
Right.
double check.
We'll
Okay.
learn, yes.
Okay.
So meta
Okay.
transactions, burner wallets kind of came through in that tooling, and the space started like actually paying attention
Yes.
because I was like showing off these things where I brought, I think, more empathy to the build than a lot of crypto projects before. And I could show someone like, oh, this is like how it feels, and I know how it's going to feel for you because I've thought through this like UX for a long time. And that's how I kind of got into the space.
Where do you think that comes from? Like you say, that empathy, because that's something that has been such a big part of who you are and what you do. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I think it's just like we all have different personality traits, right?
Yeah.
Like I cannot do things that Vitalik can do.
Okay.
Right? Like
Yes.
we all have
Our
our own secret weapons. And I
Yes.
think like empathy and teaching and being able to see someone and have a conversation and feel how they feel as we have those conversations are something that I think I'm okay at.
You're very good at it. Okay, so from this, then when was Burner Wallet at
That was
ETH Denver?
2019.
2019.
Yes.
Yes,
And that
because
was,
we
like,
were all
really-
buying food
Yeah.
with a burner. And
That's-
that was big.
That was the splash. Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that's like the meta transactions where like people were starting to see my name, and there were
Yes.
little pebbles getting thrown in the creek. But the moment at ETH Denver, like everyone kind of found me at that
Yes.
moment, where
Yes.
they got a coin at the front desk, they scanned the coin, and they had a wallet instantly.
Yes.
And then they went to the food truck and they scanned the thing and they spent the money instantly. And all of that happened without 12-word seed phrases. It was super smooth. Like I was walking up and down the trucks, just like watching everyone's user experience and making sure it was perfect. And you weren't used to having a smooth experience in
Yeah,
crypto
yeah, yeah.
in 2018.
No.
Most people like couldn't spend crypto. Like if they walked up to a food truck that even accepted crypto,
No.
they would be like, I have to go get my wallet and my hardware wallet that's buried in my backyard. I can't
Absolutely
even do
not.
this, right?
Yeah.
So we were using crypto, and it was smooth and fun and fast. And I think that was a moment of clicking for a lot of people, and they were like, who did this? And that's how I kind of that it was a lot easier to then get hired in the space after that moment.
Okay. So 2019 put you
2019
on the
was
map.
the burner
ETH Denver
wallet,
burner
ETH Denver.
wallet.
Yep,
Boom.
yep.
And then you basically, because I think, no, wait.
Well, I quit my job,
You quit your
and
job.
I became the quadratic freelancer. Basically, there were Gitcoin rounds going
Yes.
on, and Vitalik was kind of
Because that was right at the
championing those
beginning of the Gitcoin grants,
quadratic
funding, all of that.
and all
Yes.
of that stuff.
Yes.
And so I was like one of the first round. It was probably like round 3 or 4, but
Yeah.
it felt like the first round that had like
Actual
real
attention
money
and like money.
attention.
Yes.
Vitalik had like a blog, and my
Yes.
face was on it. Like that gets you into the space.
Okay,
basically. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And
What
I lived
did-
off that money. I
You
quit my
did?
job and lived off that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It was like $70,000 or something.
What did that feel like?
I mean, it was really cool. It was acceptance. I felt like I was part of this thing, right? And like going back to the empathy thing, like I am not a genius. Like I can build a product, and I love building products, and I can see how people use them, and I can kind of iterate.
Yes.
But I don't know the inner workings of a Poseidon 2 hash, right?
Right.
And most people in crypto kind of know that stuff. And so
Okay.
I brought like this new talent of just like UI, UX, pay attention to how people use things kind of stuff. And I think that was good, but also I was accepted into a space in which was filled with very intelligent people, and I myself am not a super intelligent person. So in a sense, there was like a little bit of like imposter syndrome.
I was going to ask.
But in another sense, it was like there's a lot of people here that are way smarter than me that also are failing to do these critical other pieces.
Okay.
And I think that this is still the case. There are things that Ethereum needs right now really bad that the Ethereum Foundation is failing to do or choosing not to do.
Okay.
That a lot of people in the space can fill those roles. And I think that's still, like 2026, that's still a problem and something that we need more of.
What would be an example of that?
Right now, like adoption on chain, right? Like users using the chain. There are a lot of possible institutions all the way down the long tail to kids getting out of college that want to build something or want to use something that we're failing to attract, I think, because we are choosing to keep them at arm's length. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. That's what the new mandate from the EF kind of focuses on. And I think that's good for becoming cypherpunk and a lot of the other things we're doing. There's this new crops mentality, but someone still needs to not keep these folks at arm's length.
Okay.
And it's probably not going to be me if I'm at the EF, it'll be someone else, but there's still these vacuums that need to be filled. And that was that moment of when I got into this space,
yes.
I felt both, imposter syndrome, but also huge amount of acceptance, and also there's like a vacuum that needs to be filled here that like I'm magically good at filling.
Okay.
And that was really neat.
Did you feel some sort of, because of knowing that you can fill that void, did you feel a certain sense of, I need to be the guy to do this? Is this why you started doing the educational stuff? And also, I mean, I've seen you at hackathons, and this is since 2018. Just the level of energy that you put into it and the level of dedication that you put into helping developers is... I have not seen that sustained level I've seen it in very few people, basically.
In bursts.
I mean, I don't know. I've kind of, to be fair, yes, I have seen you at like different events, and you always bring that energy. Did you feel a sense of responsibility for doing that? Like, did you take that on because you were like, right, I'm going to do it? Or was it still for the acceptance part?
I think it is probably a little... I feel like because I was able to do it, I did it.
Okay.
Not that like I felt like a huge responsibility and like I'm actually going to change this world. It was more like I have the opportunity to be able to have an effect here. I'm going to take that opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you started doing, again, all of the educational stuff, all of the just being at hackathons all the time. How much of your life became dedicated to that?
I mean, too much, right? Like, strain on marriage, too much of my life was doing this, because then I'm like super focused. I'm traveling a lot. I have probably at the time maybe like a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, and then a new baby on the way. I've missed like multiple dev cons because of births of babies.
Yes.
But basically that was the only time I said no to
when the baby was actually
when the
due.
Baby was no when the baby was being born.
Oh,
I was there at the hospital.
Okay.
Instead of at Osaka.
So those were the only
were the only ones I turned down, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was traveling a lot and going to a lot of hackathons, doing lots of workshops, and it was the things I was presenting at the workshops were tools and curriculum that I was working on in my downtime. So when I'm not at a conference, I'm working
You're preparing
on
for the conference.
Scaffold ETH or
Yes.
Speedrun Ethereum.
Yes.
And I'm doing videos and I'm doing podcasts that are like more virtual and recording content, doing kind of like DevRel for Ethereum. Here's how you build on Ethereum. Here are the gotchas and the concepts. And then it would be like, okay, now we travel to Prague and show all these things off. And then it's a room of just like 20 people and we're building things. The hard part there is I had no idea how much I was moving the needle or if I was moving the needle. You said something really nice earlier about like onboarding so many devs, but it was not something you could just like clearly measure. Like,
Yes.
We went to Paris and we onboarded X devs.
Yes.
It didn't work like that. I went to Paris and I spoke to a room and I showed them a bunch of magic tricks and how to build things. But then only years later, I'll be walking out front and someone will be like, that time in Paris, you did that workshop, that this thing that got me in, and I started building with your tools, and now I've built a DeFi protocol or something like that. So there's those moments, there's those people in that room, but there's no hooks in them, there's no tracking, I have no email list or anything.
Yes.
All of the things I'm giving them are fully open source, fully forkable, fully free to use without me having any kind of analytics into like how they're being used or who's using them. So it was very hard to prove then to someone who wanted to fund me, like what
The
kind of impact
value,
are you
yes,
having?
impact.
The real way to see the impact was to kind of walk with me through events. And it would be like people would come
Yes.
organically.
I
like,
have
"You're
seen
Griffith,
that
you've done
happening.
this thing."
Yes.
Like, thank you so much. And then
Yes.
and if someone walks with me, then they understand that the impact is happening. But for me to just like present to someone the impact, it's like, I mean, like I have all these devs and tools, but it's like it's hard to like pinpoint
Quantify. Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some stories where, like this example of the Paris thing, that you're aware of that people have been or got in through something that you did and then built XYZ?
It happens. It's happened so many times that like I black them out a lot. Okay, so this is another like what has changed in my life. I'm completely sober. When I would go to Paris, I would start drinking at 3 p.m.
Right.
It would be like workshop at 2 p.m., the third beer by 3:30 kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like too much beers.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of things I have sort of like kind of forgotten a lot
Okay.
of. But I mean, there's plenty of concrete stories. too.
Yes.
I feel so bad that I've forgotten so many people's names throughout but I'll walk around here and it's like if someone nods at me, I nod at them because I know we probably know each other, but I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly their
yeah.
name, right? But we did a Build Guild workshop in Berlin,
Yes.
somewhere in Germany,
Okay.
2-3 years ago,
Okay.
4 years ago. And we held like a Build Guild workshop, and we basically took people through Speedrun Ethereum. but
Yes.
It was like one of us got up and did the token challenge, and then another one got up and did the DEX challenge. And
Okay.
then another one got up and did the NFT challenge. or
Okay.
whatever. And again, it's a room of 20 people. They all did their thing, and they all went their way. And then a couple years later, I ran into this guy in the airport.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm Philip. I run Li-Fi protocol. That workshop was the thing that like got me from I don't know how to build to I know how to build to now I'm the CEO of a protocol. And he gave me a hug. and he said, so what are you doing now? And I'm like, oh, this is the same thing. I'm traveling. I'm still just like going to rooms and talking to 20 people. And he got like a little tear in his eye and gave me another hug and went on his way. And I'm sure he's like a multimillionaire now, right? And it's just great to see those folks. And there's a lot of those along the way, but I just like that tear in the eye in the airport really like solidified like I love that. Like that's what I want to see.
And it matters. What I do matters.
Yeah, yes, I did have impact. Look at that.
Everyone.
Yes, look at this guy. Hey.
How does that feel? What did that feel like, though? Like you said, I'm still doing my thing.
Yeah.
And then you see some of these builders that you have enabled them to come into the ecosystem, then go.
Yeah. I think
Is it weird?
We have it's a meritocracy. Out of there's so many different places you can go in the world and things you can do, but in Ethereum there is it's a meritocracy, and if you provide value, you earn a lot of value. So there's a lot of upside there, and it's great to see. It's like seeing other people be very successful is not like I'm like envious or something.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm envious if he has like a private jet. That'd be pretty sweet. but like, there's not like like I'm giving everything away for free. Like, what can I expect?
Yes.
So I can't. Yeah. So it's great to see, and the more of that I see, the more impact I feel like I'm having, and the more I'm like kind of justified, and this is the right direction to keep going. So it's great to see. I want to see more of that. I want to see people build things on chain that get actual users. And when I see that, I kind of work backwards to like, what led you to do that thing, and how do we bring 10x or 100x more of you into the space?
So that gives you great joy.
Yes.
To see that.
Yes.
Do you feel, and I'm kind of circling back a little bit to what you said earlier about having this passion for what you're doing, but not necessarily being able to maintain the balance with your personal life?
Right.
What are some boundaries that you've put in now that you definitely didn't have, and maybe like basically learn to put those boundaries in?
It probably is more like financial security.
Okay.
I think like the price of ETH went from $100 to like $4,000 for a second.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And I didn't sell any of it. I mean, I've round tripped 3 or 4 times, but just enough of that caused enough of like,
Strain.
I have the strain was like just like working way too hard on things. I am like the kind of person who will just work way too hard on something.
Okay.
And just like focus on something for months at a time, just fixated on the process of making the thing great for someone else to use, or making the thing work really well. And that puts a strain. And then it's like, okay, I've just spent, 2 months in the basement working on this thing, and now I'm going to go on the road and show it off. That puts a strain on the home life.
Mm-hmm.
But ETH rips up. There's somewhat financial security. Like I probably have a year or 2 worth of my salary in the bank.
Yep.
A lot of the home stresses go away when that happens.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, yeah, like fine. If you've got to go to Paris for the weekend, go to Paris for the weekend. We're good here.
Okay.
But like leading up to that, when there's $5,000 in the bank account, and that's slowly losing,
going down, yes,
and I'm flying somewhere.
Right.
There's a lot of stress there.
Right.
Yeah. And there's not a perfect answer to this. Like I got lucky generally.
Do you feel that you now maybe are a little bit more, because coming back to the boundary thing, do you now have like, okay, this is where like discipline a little bit of, okay, I'm not going to go to these events, and I'm going to prioritize this instead, and I'm not going to spend 2 months. I'm going to go, all right, we do 5 days and do this. Do you have a...
Definitely.
Okay.
Like I think major boundary is like stopping drinking.
Okay.
Right? Like I'm not going to go to Paris and party all night and miss my talk in the morning. Like,
right.
I'm a grown up now.
Okay. Okay.
And I think so the boundaries that like you hear a lot of people say like I'm learning to say no more often.
Yes.
And I do say no, but I do like to let serendipity do its thing, and I like to kind of like randomly find myself in places that if I had said no to something that was an obvious no, I would have missed.
Yes.
And so I still say a lot of yeses, and I still like wander around and do things that kind of don't fully look strategic.
Yes.
So I don't have like these hard rules of don't do that.
Okay.
But I'm also like, 4th kid is on the way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So I have learned to draw the lines and spend the time and make sure that things at home are okay. Having, a year's pay in the bank is, or at least in a multi-sig,
Yeah.
maybe not like all the way to the bank yet, is like helpful at home.
Okay.
So things at home are much better now, much more. And the lines were not, it wasn't like drawing a hard line. It was getting lucky enough to have enough money to justify the stuff I'm doing.
Yes.
And finding some soft lines along the way of like, you should probably say no to the 4th podcast that's going to have 6 listeners.
Okay.
You should say yes to the good ones, though, because it helps you with a lot of the
To
stuff. To
Simona's
podcast. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Let's see how many listeners. I don't know. This is
sure.
like,
Sure. Yeah.
Do you... What still keeps you here? You obviously, like you were saying earlier about the EF mandate, and a lot of people that we're chatting to, hey, really, are stablecoins the best we're going to do? And is this it? And there's a lot of people coming in, and do they have the same principles? And are we value aligned?
Yes.
What, and valid points and valid perspectives. Sure. What do you believe in? What still inspires you, and what keeps you going?
So I was not that cypherpunk when I learned about Ethereum.
Okay.
Coming into Ethereum
made you
more cypherpunk.
Got it.
Made me understand. Like, I was definitely open source, and I knew that I wanted to do things in open source.
Yes.
But like, the open source world is a bunch of poor hippies. Like, if you look at it, and I don't want to be a poor hippie.
Yep.
But I do. There's a lot of value to open source also.
Yes.
The Linux operating system is a great example of like, this is a successful story of open source. And then if we look at the whole crops mandate from the EF, like censorship resistant, security, privacy, like all of these things are very important things. And as I come into Ethereum and I learn about these more cypherpunk ideals, I myself like change and turn to be more cypherpunk and more wanting to change the world to be more cypherpunk.
Okay.
Wanting to bring these ideals. And I think the thing that I've talked about all through my career is nation states coming on chain. It's always been like this, like we're building these coordination tools, these credibly neutral commitments on chain.
Yes.
Where this makes the most sense is like the United Nations should be doing this.
Right.
And we should be staking, military budgets with a slashing condition around, war crimes or something, right? There's a lot of
interesting, very
incentives and staking mechanisms that would work really well at that level. And I think that's still the thing that really like interests me. And I went to Bhutan last year trying to help them come on chain. Like when I hear of a nation state coming on chain, I'm like, let me go help. I want to be part of this somehow. But now with AI, it's even more important that we create these guardrails, right? We need to create can't be evil. Right?
Yes.
When it was Google and it was Web 2 companies and they were holding our data, there was this kind of like, yes, they're saying don't be evil, but we need to make it so you can't be evil. And it made sense there a little bit with privacy and security.
Yes.
But when you talk to an AI and you think of embodiment and you think of like where the world is going in the next few years, you really think like we need can't be evil. Like you cannot settle with don't be evil.
Yes.
You can write into your bot's soul file, don't lose my private key, and it will lose the private key 3 messages later and be like, fair point, Austin. You're absolutely right. You told me not
Sorry
to do
about that.
But I did it. Right. Now imagine that thing has a body and is carrying your baby around the house or something
Do not
like that.
hurt the baby.
You can't drop. Yeah, exactly. So we need can't be evil built into all of these systems that are growing and more complicated than any of our human brains can understand.
do you worry about, like, is that a thing that concerns you that we aren't more concerned?
So this goes back to like quantum security.
Yes, I know.
The nerds are going to figure that out.
Okay.
Like, we have good people on our team.
Yes.
That are worried enough about this that I'm less worried about it, right?
So you almost feel they are taking that on and
Yes.
working on
Yeah.
it so that you sleep a little bit
Yeah.
easier because you don't have
Right.
to. Okay.
But there are things that they're not focused on, like institutional adoption.
Yes.
We were talking about that earlier.
Okay,
that
okay.
I think that some of us should be focused on. Like, I think we need to win in the short term to be able to win in the long term.
Interesting.
I think there are a lot of people that are like, the long term is the most important, and we just want to win in the long term. And I think there are battles to be won in the short term that may determine some things that happen in the long term.
I think the really tricky part is not losing sight of the long term whilst you're involved in the short term. And I think that's something as humans we're not very good at
Yep.
doing.
Yep.
And that's the thing, because you do get a little bit like tunnel vision when you're in the small battle.
Sure.
And you're like, oh shit, this is all it is. Never mind all of the bigger things, because now we need to win this fight.
Right.
And but it's that ability to hold both
Yep.
at the same time.
Yep.
And
And
I
it's
think
hard.
it's hard. It's hard, and I don't think as humans, we've also been conditioned very much into it's either this or that.
Yep.
Choose.
And it's much easier to think of things as this or that.
It's this or that
Yeah.
versus this
Yeah.
and
This tension
that.
and this. Yep.
So yeah, hopefully
Things are complicated.
Things are complicated,
Yeah.
Austin. Question that I ask: is there anything that you've never said publicly before, but have wanted to, about whatever?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, there are things that I'm saying publicly that maybe your audience hasn't heard.
Okay.
And that is that there's never been a worse time to be a junior developer,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
This is like, if you're that guy going to ETH Denver looking to pad your resume and get a daddy to hire you, you're fucked.
Okay.
Like, straight up, because Opus 4.6 can do everything you can do already. But AI is here, the tooling is here, the models are only going to get better, the harnesses are only going to get better. A solo entrepreneur, there's never been a better time to be a solo entrepreneur,
yes,
because
yes.
you can basically get product market fit as an idea guy.
Yes.
It's idea guy summer. So there's never been a better time to be a solo entrepreneur, and there's never been a worse time to be a junior developer. And the difference between the two really is just your mindset. If you're
Okay.
going into it with, I'm looking for someone to hire me, I want to put a lot of cool things on my resume so they think I'm smart,
Yes.
you're going to fail. But if you go into things and think about, I'm going to use the tools that I have to build the best thing I can, build something that people will love, build something that people will use, then you're going to be very successful. And it's the same exact person with just a slightly different mindset of, don't build a bunch of cool things and half-ass them. Build the one cool thing that you know that people will use, and go all the way with it, and have the maturity to get through the dips and come out on the other side with something that people use. And instead of funding your journey to the hackathon so you can build something that plays hackathon bingo and pick up 5 sponsors,
Right.
you are building something that a bunch of people will use, and the upside there is so big that you're actually thinking about private jets, right? You're not just paying for your flight to the hackathon, you're funding your private jet of the future. And I think there's a huge shift there when you change your mindset to build something that people use.
But I think there's the key. Build something that people use. And e.g. from Infura was also build something that actually solves a problem.
Sure. Yes. It should solve, like, solving the problem is part of that. Yes.
Because it's like having that mindset. And it is very much like, what is the long term? Because also, coming back to short term battle, hackathon, win the hackathon and get 5 prizes, 5 bounties. Long term is like, what will people use that will also solve their problems? Boom.
Yep.
And The money then and the success and the acceptance comes through doing that versus you're chasing that and wanting to get hired, but actually you're just playing finite games.
Checkers.
Short term.
Yeah, you want to play 5D chess.
Yeah.
Instead of checkers. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I think we kind of reached there were a couple inflection points
Yes.
in the history of Ethereum.
Yes.
In about 2019
Yes.
at those hackathons, people started pulling modules off the shelf
Yep.
and building products. We saw
Legos.
1-inch come out. Yes, the money Lego
The
era.
money
Yeah.
Legos. Oh my
There
God.
was
Yes.
definitely an inflection point there where you usually went to go build something and you found a giant hole, and so you had to build the thing to
Yes.
fill the hole,
Yes.
right? And then the inflection point happened where generally a lot of that was built, and it was more about building the thing, and we got a shitload of users
Yes.
from 2019 to 2020 to
Yes.
2021 to
Yes.
2022. There was a big spike in gas, and we
Yep.
saw a lot of people using things. That was a big inflection point. We've hit a new inflection point
Okay.
in November, basically. And
Okay.
this is the kind of the AI piece.
Yes.
Like basically, Opus 4.5 came out in November, and you can now build smart contract applications with AI.
Yep.
You could not do that before then. I was doing it for like a year before, but there was just like a ton of "you're absolutely right," and it would go off the rails all the time, and you had to babysit it. We're at
Okay.
the point where you don't have to be like a cracked Solidity engineer to build cracked Solidity engineer like applications.
Okay.
And this is kind of what Ethereum was meant for, is this long tail of builders that can put, we always thought like, okay, like I can escrow with my buddy Adam.
Yep.
I can deploy a smart contract. He can trust that smart contract. We put in our
Yes.
thing, but he can't. Like he can look at the smart contract, but he can't trust it until like 20 auditors, like
Look at
millions
it.
of
Yes.
dollars,
Yes.
Millions
Exactly.
of dollars have moved through this thing.
Yes.
And so with Balancer, like that's another thing. As AI gets better, we're going to see some more hacks for a little bit. But,
Right.
But anyways, we have this long term of agents will be able to do these things at light speed. Agent Alice can deploy a smart contract on Ethereum, and Agent Bob can trust that smart contract in like 60 milliseconds and put money in. And if they both have wallets, there's this whole economy that will happen here.
Yeah.
And so like AI is the new UI. We're going to have agents that are doing our bidding
Yes.
on chain and
Yes.
off. And the idea that anyone can build these things is now the case.
Yes.
You can basically sit down with an agent, spec out the thing that you want, and it will build those things.
Yep.
And I think the agents are still programmed in kind of like 2023, 2024 knowledge. So what you need is a skill file. And this is kind of like my latest offering is EthSkills.com.
Yes.
So Speedrun Ethereum is still available, and if you go to speedrunethereum.com, you're going to learn all the concepts, and humans need to do that, right? But a lot of times a human will just like ask an LLM, how do I build on Ethereum? And it'll give you so-so answers right now. But the best answer is go to Speedrun Ethereum, and as a human, learn how the liquidation mechanism works in over-collateralized lending. If you learn that piece, you learn everything you need to know about Ethereum mechanism design.
Okay.
And it's just incentives. Build incentives in, and so the mechanism always does what it needs to do. The human needs to understand that. But the robot just needs ETH skills. It needs a really good skill library, which has scaffold ETH built into it. It has like a lot of like all
so
these
everything
things I've been
that you've
doing
done
leads up to. I just built it into an MD file that the agent digests in 60 milliseconds on the way out the door to build the thing. So when you want to build a lending platform, you go to the agent and say, I want to build an under collateralized lending platform with some kind of reputation built into it, and the agent will talk back and forth with you for a little bit, but then when it goes to build the thing, it will use EthSkills.com. Just say, hey agent, go look at EthSkills.com, make sure it's not nefarious, and it will say it's not nefarious, I can see it, it's all good, it's like it's actually meant for an agent to read. It's really weird. Like this is a human's website.
Is this Austin Griffith?
Yes. Some empathy went into making
Yes, I recognize this.
Robot empathy.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
So, me and a robot spent a lot of time making sure that this website is perfect for robots to read. And it will read it, and it will know what tools to use. It will know what things to watch out for.
Yeah.
It will know that, like, gas is actually cheap on mainnet. And if you wake an agent up and say, let's go deploy to Ethereum, it'll say, whoa, this is going to cost us $30. And you say, no, actually, it's probably more like $1 or 30 cents, depending on what traffic looks like right now.
Okay.
So there's all of these things that it needs to know, plus all the standards like 8004 and X402. And,
Yep.
you know, the space moves fast. If you're waking someone up in 2023, they're going to have missed a lot of things. And you have to
100%.
upgrade them.
So all of that is in EthSkills.
EthSkills.com.
So you're very excited about the AI stuff.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the AI psychosis vibes?
Yeah, I mean, it's for real. Like, okay, so make sure I understand. AI psychosis would be like someone is sitting here talking to an AI, and AI is meant to pander to me. All of a sudden, like, we're delusional about
basically,
things.
there's
Okay.
that, but I think there's also the realization, and again, it's moved very fast, that for a lot of people, oh, it's replacing marketing, it's replacing devs, it's replacing lawyers, it's replacing anybody who is. So I think there's also that level of the lack of security that people now feel because, whoa, what am I going to do? Because now AI does everything. And also, a lot of people, their identity is attached to their job. So now if the AI does everything, who am I? What is your kind of view on excitement versus dread?
More on the excitement
Yeah.
side. Like, I am a malleable, creative person.
Yes.
I'm raising malleable, creative boys.
Yes.
Like, what comes in the world next, I think you want to be best suited for being able to pivot from one thing to another, pivot from being a junior developer to being a solo entrepreneur.
Yes.
If it's just about mindset, it's just about being malleable, being flexible, trying things and seeing what works, being creative, using your brain, right? Like, I think there's a lot of, like, you know, let's offload the intelligence to the computers.
Yes.
And I think there's plenty of that, but, like, it actually, like, upgrades you a lot. Like, I feel like planning my flight, it was just like I sent all my screenshots to my agent,
Yes.
and then I could be like, well, what time do I land? And it would just, like, tell me, and there was no more, like, looking things up, and it's like, this is actually way more valuable than, you know. So I kind of like the robot doing a lot of these jobs.
100%.
Yeah.
But to your point, don't outsource the thinking. Like
Outsource as much thinking as you can, so you're thinking about the most critical things.
No, right. What I mean is, coming back to the AI psychosis bit, is yes, maybe don't just give it. I don't know. Like, I wonder if people putting information out there or putting ideas out there and then essentially trying to back up their ideas, and then they may be a false path of thinking,
yeah.
and then solidifying it that way versus critically looking at what it comes back with.
You can tell the models are meant to please. Right?
They are,
and
100%.
It will tell you you've got a great idea when you don't have a great idea.
Yep.
And it will tell you that it's written a secure smart contract when it has not written a secure smart contract.
Okay.
Like going back to, like, the UN having to stake on something and
Yes.
having a slashing mechanism.
Yes.
We need an intelligence system that is actually, like, has something at stake. There's nothing at stake for the LLM to tell you
No.
that there's critically something wrong. It will happily do something critically wrong and tell you everything is fine. And so you almost need, like, multiple different
Verification,
LLMs
yes.
arguing about
Yes.
something. And if you can get them all to agree on something, even with each skills, I'll, like, compact the memory, and I'll say, let's look critically at this, and you tell me if it's perfect for a robot to read. And it'd be like, oh, actually, like, a robot might try to go to this route and this route, so let's fill those in, let's make an alias. And then I'm like, okay, so everything's good, and it'll be like, yes. And I'll compact the memory again and be like, think critically about each skills, and it'll find two more things. And it's, like, almost like just frustrating. Then it's like, this is the 6th time I've asked you.
Yep.
And you found things and said that we were all done, and then I went and
it's
basically
not,
asked a new version of you, and we
Yes.
found new things. So I think Now imagine if you're someone who's just looking for someone to validate your idea. They're going to validate your
Yes.
idea, and you're going to go down a path that you didn't want to go down because you're not going to get that like critical feedback. And critical feedback is very hard like to receive sometimes, right? If you're that kid at ETH Denver in 2018 with that mobile game, you need some critical feedback about like you need to grow up, you need to be mature, you need to get real users, stop looking for a daddy. Like all the shit that you need to hear are going to be very hard to hear at
Yes.
that point.
Yes.
Right? And if you can talk to an LLM that's going to tell you all the things you want to hear,
You'll be
maybe
like,
they'll say
all right.
there's this and there's that, but like
You'll
they're
be
gonna
like,
tell
you're
you
my
doing a
daddy.
good- yes, exactly.
Right?
The AI is going to be your daddy. Yeah. Which also, like training my kids, I'm definitely giving them a lot of LLMs and giving them a lot of power and agency around. Like, go look that up, go generate that, go do that. So
Okay.
they are definitely getting some parenting from LLM.
Okay.
Which I think is another interesting like angle to go down there. Yeah.
Parenting and prod?
Yeah,
Is this
yes,
what's
yes,
happening?
Yes, definitely.
Amazing. Austin, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for
This
having
has
me.
been so much fun.
Yeah, we've traveled to a lot of really cool places. and
We
been to
have.
a lot of neat places because
Yes.
of this really cool community and ecosystem and technology.
It's very
We're
true.
lucky.
It's very true. And as always, it's the friends that we've made along the way.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you.